I don't do philosophy because I think I'm a smart man. I do it precisely because I know that, if anything, I'm just average. Like, I'm aware that my intellect is bound. I know that I don't know. To do the whole Socrates. And in that, I'm aware that I can only go so far with the limited resources. It's not impressive to do things uh, when you have nearly unlimited resources at your disposal. Those things get praised, and I say that that's not impressive. Like, I see people who become exactly what you expect them to become because they have the tools, and then we're supposed to delight in it, revel in it, and be proud and cheer. And then you see what people become without those resources and without any expectation. And then when they live to that expectation, that non expectation, we we demonize them for becoming what they were, what we expected them to be. We didn't give them resources. We didn't acknowledge them as human or possible or capable of change or improvement. We didn't actually see how far they went. We dangled small carrots, and they did what any human would do: survive. And survive that they did. And we say, well, why didn't they flourish? Flourish for what? Why would you expect a flower to bloom into this beautiful garden if you're only going to water them at specific times? You're going to train them. You're going to make a man, train a man to be a dog, and then expect him not to bark. Why flourish? Why grow? Why become anything more when you don't expect them to? When you don't really want them to? If they were, are you going to be impressed? Is it going to change who you are fundamentally? Is it going to make things better for you? Why starve someone in the first place? I don't want, it's not that I don't want the world to grow, but whoever has those resources, whoever has those opportunities, even just small drops of water, I want them to choose to pour it into the garden. For a million men with drops of water can equate to one man with 100 gallons. But that's a choice. It's a choice that people have to choose to come to, choose to organize, choose to believe. And I should not have to manipulate the choices. I should not have to set a lie in order to gain, to come to that conclusion. Because anything gained in that, I will lose double. As as I mentioned many times with protesting, you lose so much because it denies actually addressing the problems. It goes into our nature. No, no, not our nature. A nature of I want to feel good now. That instant gratification. It doesn't sit down and tell people the truth and what is to be expected. Instead, what it does is it hurts those even more, puts them in a false state, gives them someone to be angry at. But it says do not act on that because we are currently acting. It doesn't allow them to grieve because their tears, um, they'll just get put on a stage. They'll say, yes, cry, cry, say this is who made them cry. And so anyone could say, yes, look at what those others have done, the monsters, those demons. It does nothing but the same. It plays the same games for the same prizes. Nothing. You don't really heal. You don't really feel any better. You're a rebel without a cause, a fight that keeps on going, a soldier in another battle. Hey, I ask myself, do we have to continue this? And what does it mean to continue? What does it mean to change, to grow, to ask yourself? Like we've developed all this technology, and for what? Things have gotten worse. Things, and it's not to discard technology. It is saying who's actually being able to utilize it. I remember there was a time where there was full access, and even in the most malicious of times, I had full access. There was videos, there were niches. But as things had grown more and more restrictive, as yes, they became more efficient, tighter, cleaner, they also became more sterile. It's not to say there's an enemy. I'm not upset in the sense of someone is taking from me, but more of like now I no longer have access. Society wants me to be angry. I think that's really the key takeaway. When you're angry, you can just go to the point of anger. At least like that's what it's always told. But when you kind of look at it in a different perspective, how sad it is, how you could see how quickly anger lights up, but people can't see the other pictures. Like if you're angry, why are you angry? And the more you ask, the more people eventually shake their heads and refuse to answer because like they feel themselves lose that power, the only power that's keeping them going. It's hard. It's hard to go back to feeling helpless. It's hard to go back to the basics to say this little bit of power makes me tired, makes me feel like I need to go back to sleep, that I have to rest. And I think that, like me getting shot, it's scary getting that close. It feels like you're dying. Like if you go to sleep, you might not wake up. But I had to take that risk. I had to take that calculated guess. If I don't rest, I don't heal. The alternative is me truly dying, or the real alternative is me living a life in pain, being awake in absolute pain and agony, and not even sure if I am alive. Uh, When I had arisen from sleeping, when I was afraid that it would take my life, I had sat there and stayed awake constantly, constantly. I had said, as long as I'm awake, I cannot die. But when you're awake, you do nothing but consume. You become gluttonous. You have to do something to bide your time until absolutely you can't hold out. And you think that you're learning, but no, you're just consuming. You can't even retain what you just learned, what you, quote, just saw. You could not retain it. It starts to blend in. Things start to become more front facial. You have no time to consume another side. You consume all that you can of this, and then you say, I'll consume the other. But by the time you get to that point, you've digested only one side, one portion, whether it be all of your fruits and vegetables or all of your cakes, all your desserts, the main course or the side dish. It doesn't matter what you have consumed. You didn't get any balance. And now you left everything out to rot. When you could have asked yourself an important question. If you there's still food left on your plate, Why did you have so much in the first place? You should have been able to consume it all, but who's feeding you? What are you eating? Why? That's those are questions that plagued my head. And I had grown, and that's why I desired philosophy, to see if I could answer my own questions. And what I had found was that I had been bored for a long time, even in the realm of philosophy, not because it interested me at first. Things were so new and they were bright and they were clear and it made me feel like I was going to something. But very quickly, I realized that maybe I wasn't as far from the philosopher I thought I was. I just didn't have the same names. I didn't have the same references. I had, in my own way, came to those same conclusions. So I was not that different from the philosophers before. In fact, it's just I didn't have a name for it. As a colonial, as the ancestor of colonial forces, I had sought to colonize philosophical works, a land, and coin it as my own. But as the also the ancestors of the enslaved, I knew that it was not smart to do so. So I accepted the names and titles of those that have already coined them, or made no point in putting my name onto something that already exists. It'd be better to have my own start instead of someone's sloppy seconds. So I listened to not only what was great about it, but its flaws too, and increased my own thoughts on my own. And it was beautiful. I had recognized why things didn't work, why they couldn't work, and begun to be more grounded. What I recognized was not that I was inherently flawed. It was just I needed time to recognize, to hear other people speak, and to speak with myself as well. I need to find people that were like-minded. I had also begun to get full of myself and recognize, like, yes, I am so unique, so unique. Yes, I am the only black man in these classes. I am the black philosopher. I am the only black male philosopher. And then I was struck with the fear and the recognition that what does it do for me to be the first, to be the only? As I've seen in works like Avatar or in Demon Slayer and in my favorite One Punch Man, being strong, being the only one is a sentence in itself. It doesn't, it sounds great to watch it as it makes you unique, it makes you stand out, but you remember a time when you fit in. Or you might have never known that piece of knowing just fitting in, an easy day, or an average day. Something that you didn't have to work that hard for. But it didn't mean that it was that much less. It was just a part of just those average days. It made every story that you told seem okay. Now, if every story that you tell is so fantastical and amazing, every day of your life you've been in peril or danger, it becomes your average. So any day that is an average day to most feels like agonizing hell because your body can't distinguish. It doesn't, it feels like this day as the calm before the storm. If this was your heaven, you couldn't even identify it. So you just wait for the next battle, the next thing that reminds you that you're here. And when it doesn't come, you start to yell at God, like, why have you abandoned me? What have I done? What sins have I committed? When you think about the old battles and you start to reminisce, and maybe you've seen a facial feature, you recognize it within an opponent. Maybe it wasn't anger, maybe it was sadness, or maybe it was fear, but you didn't put too much mind into it then because you were too busy fighting the battle. But maybe they were surrendering and you had killed them. Maybe they too had a family. Maybe they had a purpose greater than mine. As a philosopher, as a black philosopher, or black male philosopher, I recognize that I'm not great. I know I should turn on a light, but hold on. I'm not anything better than those that have gone before me. I'm if I overhype myself, I'm condemning myself. I go into a space and I'll say, "Oh, I'm the black philosopher," and then I'm simply waiting until someone sees how I came up and what I've done and grown to be that much better, more efficient, quicker. Yeah, I'd done exactly that. My life and legacy had made it easier for someone to come up, but if I'd made a life and a career out of being the only or being the, I would just be sentencing myself later. The thing that had been my liberator would be my chains, because someone will always do it better than I. And if I do that far too too young, then the quicker I do it, the quicker it gets done to me, the quicker that legacy. But even far beyond that, not far beyond it, I think that it would put me into competition when I should be of mentorship. I recognize that I don't want to be a philosopher in that regard. I would say that's weird and strange, maybe. But I thought about getting my doctorate, my master's. I realize it might not be as difficult as I once put it. But I think and for me who has ADHD, it's such a long road. It takes me 4 times more work to get, like 4 years for a person. It feels like 12 years for me. For a neurotypical person, 4 years, 12 years, 3 times the amount of work. And then I feel jarred. And even when I get it, sometimes I don't feel as amazed. It makes me feel smart, it makes me feel capable, but I burn out so much quicker. And yeah, I could take medication for it. But sometimes I just like to feel like it's me, the natural me. Or at least if I'm going to take it, I want to. I want it to be reasonable, not to keep up with people that are already burning out in the normal way. Like if I need to do work and it's something reasonable, I should take it. But other than that, I don't feel like people are truly prescribing it for necessary. Like this is just to keep you going in a reasonable way. I feel like they're just trying to make me match. And I can't match with neurotypical people taking Adderall. Like I could up my dosage, but I'll just conk out. So no, until I can take it reasonably, I don't want to. And I don't want to be a philosopher if the black kids can't recognize the joys of philosophy. I don't want philosophy to seem like this boring old man's game that only you have to aspire to get a doctorate to meet and to be a philosopher. I hate that. Or maybe hate's a strong word and maybe not the right word. I dislike it. I dislike it greatly. I feel like it's that's the greatest shame to the philosophy world, that it's only made to the rich, the elite, those with resources. And I know that I can't engage with them past a point. I can't engage with white kids the way that I could black kids. I can speak well, I can say things that make them laugh, but then I'll always go, but what if a kid like me needed me and I'm not spending my time there? And I thought about every way which I could do it within the stable of the system. Should I become a college professor and then engage and tell more black kids to become philosophers? But at that point, I looked at myself. I am older than the majority of college kids, and my situation was far different than others. I had gotten shot, and because of that, I had financial backing. I had all I had my mother and father still in my life. I had multiple options. I had all my siblings still alive. I had reason. I had chances. I have things that all these perfect things lined up for me, glowed. And that's how I came to be. I am great because the circumstances had all lined up for me. So, to a kid that all those circumstances don't light up, I still should be able to catch them and tell them that they could be a philosopher. That academics is still a way that they can go. So I'd have to go much younger, but I myself am not a man that can be condensed into speaking to children. Like I'm not enthusiastic to speak to children. That's not my forte. That's not where I want to go. I don't want to um, lead them into, oh, you could be a philosopher. This is why, and then I'd have to talk it down and meet the curriculum and meet these things that are required for them to grow as a human being. I don't want to meet them at that point. Those are crucial points to make them human, to interact. I don't want them to deep dive and go into all of this legwork of becoming, where they're sitting there reading the books of others before them, because that's the time when they should be living their lives, when they should be eating good food, fast food, whatever, just talking to women, discovering themselves, getting full of themselves, making mistakes, coming back. Philosophy is a dedication. When you're ready to do it, when you're ready to pick it up, yes. But if you put it down, decide to put it down. It's not a halfway crook type of thing. I'm not saying every philosopher has to never take a break, but more so, it's when you find it and discover it, it'll never leave you. To do that, to awaken someone's mind too early towards it, will just destroy them. To understand nihilism, one must confuse themselves to be a nihilist at a point, and to ask themselves, am I a nihilist? Was there always a time? But that's why we have so many kids who become nihilist, because they never seem to remember a time that was good that wasn't when they were a child, and then they can trick themselves into saying, Life was never good. The economy was always bad. My parents always beat me. Then I go, your parents shouldn't have done that. The situations should have never been there to do that. And there's a fortunate point of nihilism that I find. Most people that pick up on it at least can articulate and explain it. They themselves they themselves fail to really truly understand it. Because like the fact that you could read defeats the purpose of nihilism. There's no purpose. There's no reason. How'd you even come to read? What stimulated you? Did it interest you? Did you have any enjoyment reading that? Did it make you go awe in any way? If you were truly a nihilist, nothing would have excited you ever. But you could see those I think that when it comes to nihilism, especially in the youth, that you could see a black kid experience that, but they're never told that what they're saying is wrong, or maybe possibly, no, I say wrong or misguided. They say that is the natural state of mind, and that is where nihilism lives. For there's no one to give them a hug and to say that you are not nihilistic. You're realistic. Your position is painful. It hurts, and you are hurting, but you do not know how to grieve because you're not allowed to cry. But your life has purpose and meaning. I don't want to be a high school professor, a high school teacher. Again, that's for the same reasons I had mentioned. I do not want to speak to children. And as far as it goes, I view the ages of, I can tell that there's still a level of maturity that still is yet, that I don't want to sit down and simply speak to those in that position that still have that joy, that bubble. Let them experience it. Let them get it out of their system. Enjoy life. Get it out. Bounce. Don't become so old to start reminiscing, because that's what philosophy can make you do. Reminisce to make you think, what is a situation that reminds me of this? Watch TV. I say that perfectly encapsulates. Why do you think we send each other clips and videos? I had watched things and understood history and time because I watched anime and TV and understood where philosophy, or I've heard this philosophy before. To me, I didn't have to experience it myself because I lived throughout that story when my mind was capable of receiving it. But to children who have no access to those shows, that have to, again, be enslaved, there's no way I could teach a person who is mentally 15, 16, 10, 7. I cannot speak to those that are trapped in this internal youth with a aging body. I need those ears of adult men and women, not children, because it is not for me to speak to your children. It's not for me to speak to all ages, to be that I know this. I know this. Because I am a specific man, I do my role. I hit where I need to hit. I can travel within my realm. I can be strong in it. I am strong because I know where I am weak, and I am weak when I speak to a child. For a surgeon does not, a surgeon understands himself. If I am performing surgery and I work on legs, then That is the only thing that I work on. You call me when legs, that is what you need. I am a specialist in legs. You call a specialist in reconstructing legs. That is what I dedicated myself to do. For whatever reason, whatever purpose, whatever backstory, it doesn't matter to that moment. You know that I specialize in legs. But to have a surgeon that can specialize in everything is great. That generalizing, it is great. It saves lives. But there will always be a need for both. Someone that specializes in it and someone that generalizes it within it. But to make everything generalized as a way of efficiency, that shows a half understanding of the world. You would say, well, these specialists don't get utilized as often, so we don't have to pay them as much. No, you pay them as much as the general. Because it's the moment that you get lax, that you cut corners, that you think that they're not important, is when they really show themselves and they really need to be there. All it takes is one accident, one day, to change your life, to see how much someone is needed. People always try to cut corners. So you pay the specialist to be the specialist, to make more specialists. We act in earnest to say, yeah, I need to get paid for this. It is exhausting. It is exhausting learning this. It is exhausting continuing to repeat this. Sometimes I need to take my mind off of it because I keep my mind sharpened for this exact moment. And yet, because I focus on one thing, I am always having to defend why I do this, why I speak about this. You see a man, a jack of all trades, a man of many trades, and they sound so smart until eventually everyone now knows the same information that they do. And now when we look to them again to tell us the information, they become redundant. No more depth, not much. In fact, they have to manufacture and they have to exclude us. It's not because we are not capable of understanding or knowing, but because if we find out, hey, we've surpassed them or we're on par with them, they are out of a position, a job, and someone else will have to go. They will have to, they will look, they will say, I have to continue to learn, or I'm not loved, and they will see like their life has kind of amounted to nothing. They made their life grandiose, that they bought property that they could not afford in their generalizing salary. Now they would get paid like the specialist. They would get cost cut. They lived beyond their means because they believed in the lie. They a half truth. Now they will stifle everyone because they are afraid to go back. What I am trying to teach to people is that my job is not to be general. It is to be specific, to be a blade, to be precise, to feel and touch, to be able to answer questions to those in positions similar to I want Black kids to become young adults and to come to me and ask me my thoughts on philosophy, to surpass me, to say, and then when I talk to them and I can ask them questions, things that I know better, that I can trust that they will give me the information. Why? Why? Simply because they would have no reason to lie to me. They have nothing to gain from telling an old man, a crazy old man, the truth. I could finally put those things to rest, and then I could die. I could enjoy, and I could say that I was in trusted hands. They had no reason to kill me. They had no reason to harm me. They had no reason to lie to me. They didn't speak of confidence of knowing all. They just told me what they knew. They told me what they knew. They trusted me. And I trusted them to hold the truth, to understand, to comprehend it. I want Black children to go to college, to be able to go to college and make those decisions. Not because of you have to get a job, you have to have a career, but simply for fun, to say, why not? As white children get to go and be and live and dance and cry and grieve and fornicate and all of this. But when it's us, when it's Black children that go for the same means to say, like, I went to college to look for a girlfriend, to look for a wife. Why was that bad? Oh, you shouldn't do that. You need to be in the books. Why? For what? To be smart? They don't care if I'm smart. They care about how physically capable I am. And when I lost the ability to be physically capable, what was I to anyone? I still had to pretend to be physically capable even when I wasn't. I had to still beg and grieve and cry. And sometimes I was lying to everyone, even myself, to not even be sure what was going on with my own body. Because if I told myself the truth, I would be afraid. If I told myself the absolute truth about my situation, I would come to realize that I don't know how long. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to keep my leg for a long time or if it's going to hurt. I don't know if there's going to be some medical advancement, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to partake in it. I'm not even certain if I stay on the course and doing absolutely nothing that I would avoid being homeless. There are so many things that are stacked against me that you would think after all this time and all this work and me trying my best, I would have at least some level of certainty of my own position, my status in society. But no. See, I want children, I want people, I want Black people to be able to come to me and to say, that guy, he knows what he is talking about. That I can go to him, that office is open. And I don't have to be the only one, that I would find capable staffs and crews, people who might even surpass me. That I can ask my colleagues, that my colleagues can ask me, that people would join and then overcome and then take over. And that way, I don't have to fear the weight of doing it alone. I'm not meant to do it alone. But this isn't peace. Being a philosopher is not the issue. It is the societal portions of, will you accept these truths? Will you accept what is being said? It is people willing to handle the truth. I myself, I've been confronted with the truth many times. And I stumbled many times. But I accepted it. I accepted many truths into the whole, realizing that these many things are true, asking myself questions. At least that is the thing that I feel confident in. I feel like there is a definite truth. The only thing that is definite The only thing that is permanent, the only thing that is real and tangible. Everything else is a dream, is a fantasy. And with that, I could be anything. And the closer that I am to the truth, the more real I feel until I discover who I am. That is hard. That is hard. It hurts. It's scary. It fills me with unshaking, unbearable, and yet light feeling, as it's the only thing that makes sense. The adrenaline and lack thereof. It's all wonky, it's goofy. Sometimes it's like a dream that you just feel like nothing makes sense. Like if you were to explain it or talk about it, it's you would think mad, but it makes perfect sense. No matter how you frame it. If you know the person, you could see what it represents. But if you don't know the person, well, then the dream doesn't make sense to you. And there are those that will hide the dream making sense. They will hide the truth from the dreamer. Not because the dreamer can never come to the truth, but might not be in the time to be able to articulate it. And they will disguise it, they will hide it because like they themselves can't bear the truth. I think that's really where I'll finish it with this, that I believe all these bad things that are happening in society can be overcome by human hands, or any human problem can be overcome with human hands. But I think it's also to put into the hands the people that have been neglected, to bring everyone up to speed. Sometimes the solution isn't that hard or difficult. It's just a willingness to accept it, to be like, yeah, that did happen, and yeah, we need to do something, and this is what we're doing. And you need scientists. Allow people to be scientists. If the world needs to go slower, then it needs to go slower. If you can't drive anymore, then don't drive. We need to allow people to say, okay, I have been doing this. I don't believe it's right. I want to stop. At least slow down and change direction. And we must allow them to do this without killing them, without ostracizing them, without demonizing them for wanting to slow the world's progress. Because they themselves are like, yes, I am doing my job, but every incident slows the progress of the world 100 times, 1,000,000 times more. If you don't tighten every bolt, one bolt can cause a plane to crash. One bolt can shoot out and hit an engine and cause a fire, and now you have more dead, more investigations, more questions. Is it really worth it? How much more money would you have? How much money is worth your soul and reputation? Even the smartest man hiding. Hiding from what? Are you going to hide with your billions of dollars? Is that going to make your kids act better and more honorable? Is that going to forget those moments where it wasn't easy to sleep? Or the doughiness that everyone kind of has now? The indifference. You can try to hide from the world. You can even try to shift the blame back onto the same people, and they can accept it 1,000,000 times over. It doesn't mean that it does anything. Like, heck, it's a very insult. Like, why would a man who thinks that everyone is stupid ever feel bad when someone calls him dumb or stupid? because the truth is that they're projecting. Yeah, it's like that projection doesn't always mean like a heinous, but we all project. Everything is a projection. And I project the world to be good because I feel that I am good. I think that I am good, so I project goodness. I think that the world is smart, so I project its intelligence. That I think that the world is charismatic and humanity is divine, so I project that. That I don't think that we're afraid or we're wrong. That a man can shape the world and the world can shape a man, and that is my life. That I think that if I am anything in this world, that it shows that I could be forgiven for my sins. I could forgive myself and I can do better. That I don't need a Bible, I don't need to sit there on my hands and knees and pray to a deity above, for it's already given me everything that I needed. That I don't need to uh, convince or extort or play some game. I don't need to use these over complex words to say this isn't right. And I think that you know this. I'm not trying to always put things in symbolism, that they can be simple. And in that simplicity, there's an elegance. That if you allowed people to actually take the same titles that you have coveted and hidden, that they would amplify it. That people aren't that far behind as you would like. That if you take your hand off of it, you'll find that the consequences aren't always as devastating as you think. There might be more so. Some people could, yeah, I think people fear death, but they forget that there's far more worse things than that. Like imagine that a businessman does let go, gives all the money, and then the world really doesn't come a better place. Would that man say, well, C is right, I'm correct, but as soon as he dies, things become better. Maybe that punishment is that he doesn't get to witness it. Maybe the punishment is that it all falls eventually anyway. That yeah, he was correct. All his bad inclinations were correct. Maybe that's the greatest sin, that he died thinking he was correct. I don't think that's bad. Not for me. I'll say that yeah, you got what you wish for, and now that you're gone, I can get what I wish for. That I want freedom, and I want black people to be on the same par, so I can hide in between them. I can hide amongst them, so I can just focus on my life, and then I can be lazy. I can hide in between and play a game of tag with players that look like me. That I don't always have to be caught. I don't always have to be out. I don't always have to be the first one. That I could play a game of twins and who is which. I think it's far more interesting that way. I want to let my hair down. I want to travel to the states that my grandfather and my ancestors had lived, without fear that I would die to a shotgun to the back of my head. That I want to be able to travel around the entire state and grieve, and then finally ask myself, what did they do that was happy? What can we do that is happy? I cannot live happy enough for them to to justify that pain. I guess like I'm only one man. I can't take all that. I can't take all the like if I collected all the gold that they had collected that was stolen from them, and they gave it all to one man, I couldn't even spend it all or justify it. I could enrich my direct bloodline millions and millions and millions of times over, but that's not what we want. That's not what I want. Or we're all blood, we're all kin. I would make sure that everyone got their one piece of gold. If it's just one piece of gold that everyone gets, then we all get it. But my job isn't to carry all the gold myself, and it isn't to distribute it. It's for everyone to see, hey, look, I got the pile of gold. Now everyone get one piece of gold. And it's everyone's job to get one piece of gold, to see it, to have it, to recognize it, to get over their fears, to avoid the voice of temptation, and to accept the one piece of gold and just be happy with it. And then, like, yeah. And will do whatever they need to do. If that means to leave the gold for someone else, then when everyone has a piece and you still see piles of gold, you know what that is? That's what gets used for statues. That's what gets used for the next time. That's what we leave behind for someone else, or we let melt back into the ground so we don't overuse. Those are the ancestors, those are the spirits, those are the people that have been taken advantage of. So we let their gold live. Let their beauty go back to the earth and make sure that they hold us up so we don't ring the world hollow. I know I said I'd leave it, but I always talk so much. Talk so much because I guess I'm ready to one day like not be anything. Like if this is my last time, I guess I'm just trying to leave a good impression, you know, to have something that people can listen to for hours and as long. I guess that way so I can feel like I'm there just a second longer. To lean on, for someone to lean on the voice. Maybe I wish that my grandfather and my father and my mother and everyone else had done this before me. Because like I just wanted to know who or what and why, so I could just not feel so alone. So I could understand it. Someone to tell me, hey, I had bad grades too. Oh, thank God, I'm not the only one. Oh yeah, I had that same issue. Here's how I solved it. Oh my God, thank you. I don't have that. And I am far too much in a rush to get it. I want a family, but you know, me just birthing kids just to say, oh, I have a family. I'm not ready. I'm not like, I was like, I would sit there and say, hey, there's things I still wanted to do. Oh, well, I have you there, and let me do it with you. No, I want to do it with you the second time. There's some things that I'll be introduced to. There's always a first time. But these things came into my head, and I want to do it by myself, or I want to do it with this person. And there's no shame. I don't want to have kids because I feel like I can't do anything else. I want to have kids because I feel like I've done what I wanted to, and now I can show them these things. Now I can experience it with them. So it'll be our first experience together. And then when they have kids and we have a good relationship, they'll allow me to experience it a third time. I'll come back for a thirds, maybe even fourths. But I must be patient. And others need to be there for when I need to take breaks. For when I sleep, someone should protect me. And when they sleep, I protect them. And I need more black philosophers because they're already here. They just don't know the name yet. That's what I want. With that being said, I'm done.